This is Geometry Dash by BTLSTP. Let's get right in. This I heard is the best video of the year. Vortrox reacted to it. I think Samwat did. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if Connix did, but he wanted Connix to. But this is a fire vid, so let's react. I've watched it a ton of times already.
Geometry Dash is a very simple game. At its core, you are a cube. Click and you jump. The objective is to get to the end of a level. But there's a catch. If you touch a single triangle or hit the floor wrong, you have to start over. You have to go from nothing, make sure you dodge all the spikes, all click everything perfectly, manage your nerves as you near the end, and finish the level. And when you do, and when you finally do, you get a feeling of such incredible happiness that is so unique to this game. But how do we get to that point? There's many different skills that you need to have besides just timing in order to beat certain levels in the game that might not be very obvious to the unfamiliar eye. So just how hard is it, and how hard does it get?
This part's so tough. This edit he made. Like, the editing on this vid is so good. Like, look at this. I just thought about KFC every time I see a clip of my mom. She's just good. But then the past the verification scares.
RobTop, the sole developer of this game, created these faces to represent difficulties in Geometry Dash. These difficulties range from easy to insane. Easy levels typically only have one or two game modes in the entire level and act as a starting point for new players. You might see the cube game mode, where, of course, you click to jump, or maybe the ball game mode, where you click to switch gravity. Insane levels, all the way over here on the other side of the spectrum, may have a larger mix of harder game modes, such as the wave or the ship game mode, as well as other elements such as orbs and portals that all change the fundamental gameplay in some way. Now, you'd think you'd be able to point to the one on the end here and say,
"This is the hardest difficulty."
Shut up.
This is what the scale looked like when the game first released. But as the community grew better at the game, RobTop had to create a new difficulty icon. And just like that, the demon difficulty...
Look, there's the hardest difficulty, right there!
Oh my god, okay, chill. We're not there yet. We'll get there. We're not there yet, okay? Stop talking.
I don't know Chinese, but I'm actually gonna try. Huangguo.
This is not the hardest difficulty. In a following update, RobTop had to add even more difficulty. He added the demon difficulty subcategories, ranging from easy to extreme demon.
Right there! Oh my god!
I can just
That there's the hardest difficulty! Oh my god!
Now, in terms of the average player, you might be able to beat an easier, maybe a medium demon in a couple of hours. The hardest levels in the base game, the demon ones, are these three, and are often some of the very first demons that players ever beat. Now, it's worth noting that even though they do have the icon of a hard demon, in reality these are considered easy demons. Jinxie, a very popular streamer who has never touched the game before, was able to beat his first easy demon in a little over 120 hours of playtime, which he then proceeded to violate his tens of thousands of viewers live on Twitch and YouTube. This is usually where an average player would lay in terms of maximum skill. Demons in general are known for their abnormal difficulty, requiring you to memorize where to go and when to click some very tight timings. You're also forced to adapt to gravity changes, understand the physics of the hardest game modes, and commit all of these elements through muscle memory. Eventually, through enough playtime, you'll be able to adapt to these gameplay factors that you once knew nothing about. Each step in this staircase of difficulties is small, but it's enough to make the player feel good about themselves after taking one. Maybe you learned how to play a certain game mode. Maybe you found the best way to learn levels fast. Or maybe you learned where to look on the screen for the most precise and accurate clicks. Every single step here teaches you something, and that's what makes this game feel so good and so addicting to play. Thinking to yourself like, yeah, I understand now, watch me beat it this time. The things you learn get harder and harder, but the accomplishments feel better and better. But the one thing I want to focus on today is here. At the very top of the steps lays the extreme demon. This difficulty here, it can't be put into words how hard beating an extreme demon is. There are so many little factors, so many different little things that you need to know to even begin to play the easiest levels at this difficulty. Things that you might not realize you needed to know, which we're going to go over in a minute. And yes, while Extreme Demon is the hardest difficulty of level that is currently in the game, there are many different levels with this title, and they're not all equally hard. They really are not all equally hard. To put into perspective this difference, the difficulty gap between Stereo Madness and EQ, which is one of the easiest Extreme Demons in the game, that gap there is smaller than the gap between EQ and the hardest Extreme Demon in the game. Realistically, RobTop needs to continue adding more unique difficulties beyond Extreme Demon, but that's hard to sustain by the human limit always being pushed. The community has tried to make their own difficulty icons before, but
what the frick? What? There's just like 20 of the same one that just have like a slightly darker shade of red.
I don't know what we're talking
Yo,
about.
that's
What is that?
Auto demon? What the frick does that even mean? yeah, that one.
So in order to truly rank every single Extreme Demon in order of difficulty, the community came together to create this. A comprehensive list ranking every Extreme Demon in order of how hard they are. And the very easiest Extreme Demon, which we're going to start off with today, is
Red
this.
World, the Siri, and
I'm going to turn myself from an audio visualizer. If you saw my last video, you recognize this. But I'm going to turn myself from this into a geometry dash.
Wait, what was that video in the captions?
I'm going to turn myself from an audio visualizer. If you saw my last video.
How a boat destroyed an award-winning game.
You recognize this? But I'm going to turn myself from this into a geometry dash because that's what everyone seems to be doing nowadays. Okay, you can come on up. No. Yeah, it's better. Now, without touching into every difficult level in the game, because, that would take forever, let's start with the very bottom of RDL, to sort of establish a basic knowledge of extremes with a level called Red World. Now, if we look at the factors that make this level an extreme, it's long, has choke points, and introduces a never-before-seen custom game mode. Whoa, that looks difficult. It appears to be using the ball game mode to switch gravity in a smooth motion, as if it's swinging. This level starts off extremely easily. Well, easy for an extreme game. Oh, some relatively simple shifting ball gameplay. This gameplay alone would be about 6, 7, maybe even an 8-star difficulty. You move on to some triple spikes. Still not that difficult. These triple spikes are seen in some of the easiest levels in the game.
Bro, I keep thinking something
Then you move
bad's
past
gonna
what
happen
is
there
the
because
most insufferable choke point of the entire level, and then end off with another choke point, and then another. While this is the easiest extreme demon, these choke points of pointless garbage make it extremely unfun to play. Usually, in a normal level, these things would go through playtesting, so that the level creator can balance out all the difficulty spikes to make the level more enjoyable. However, this level was so hard that it was uploaded to the server with a hack verification as an impossible level. Okay, I'm right. That's the history lesson behind Red World. This level has some pretty difficult timings, but it's not intense. It's mainly carried by its hard clicks, none of which are frame perfect clicks, but we'll get into that soon, as well as its tight chess gameplay and swing copter choke points. That's all this level really has going for it. Red World, while still being very, very difficult, has absolutely nothing on what we're going to talk about here in a minute, and barely even scratches the surface of the difficulty of Geometry Dash levels. Speaking of which, what's next on our list?
Because Acropolis is short.
Let's do an activity. You're going to help me make a really mediocre transition into what we're going to talk about next. Think back to a happy moment of your life. A fun hangout with your friends. Maybe a first kiss.
Yeah,
maybe
my
installing
sleepover.
Geometry Dash for the
That's
first
never
time.
happened.
Maybe uninstalling Geometry
Yeah, I
Dash
love
for the
that
first
moment.
time. What you
Heck
just
no.
accessed in your mind is called a memory.
Memories.
Geometry Dash has found a way to take these things and put them into levels. Memory demons are a genre of level that you cannot sight read. They require you to memorize when to click, usually through trial and error. Looking back at Red World, we can see when to jump. It's more or less readable, like these triple spikes here that you need to jump over or this god-awful swing copter. You have a visual path here to go along, and the limits of this path are more or less obvious. Memory levels are where those concepts go to die. Depending on how memory-based a memory level is, you are forced to build muscle memory on where to click based on very little visual or auditory cues, if any. Take a look at this segment here. This is a level called Unleash Whale Whales. Tell me which block you should go onto next. This is a very important decision. If you get this wrong, you have to restart. These stakes are very high. Oh, you don't know? Well, this is just one jump. If you want to attempt beating this, you have to memorize the right path for hundreds of these jumps, for a little under 2 minutes. This is the entire level. And you want to know the best part? This doesn't even break the top 1,000 hardest levels in the game. These memory levels come in many different shapes and forms. For example, this is super probable, where you have to memorize where the real borders are because all the ones you see here are fake.
Learn over 40 languages with Duolingo. It's free, so there's no excuse.
Inactivity serves no purpose whatsoever.
Here's another one. You may think to yourself, oh, this man is simply floating. No, he's hitting jump orbs, dodging spikes, and constantly switching game modes in a completely invisible level. For 5 minutes. And you want to know something crazy? This doesn't even break the top 750. It's okay though. It's mainly clicking to the beat of this nice song and enjoying these cute birds flying around. You know, how hard could an invisible level possibly get? Sorry. Hello? Of Ambrosia? Of Ambrosia. Yeah, what's up? Here, give me a second. I'm gonna stop right now. Are you supposed to know where to go? Man, I'm done. Hey, chill. It cannot be that hard. Let's take a peek under the curtain to see what the layout actually looks like. Okay, now usually
so
this level of gameplay is probably about hard or maybe insane gameplay, but it's difficult to judge a skeleton when it's covered by all that flesh and blood. In other words, it's much harder than you think when a level is completely invisible.
No, so you know what you do? You get 2 PCs, you play a showcase of the layout, and then sync up the showcase and the actual level, and then click to the showcase, and it'll be the same click pattern. Click to the layout showcase, and it'll be the same click pattern there, so it'll be so easy. Oh, my new video just got uploaded.
Yeah, we're gonna put that right back.
It takes a million years to upload because it's like 10 hours. Plus one more guess. Oh, my other video.
Agony. Looping all the way back to the start. Anger.
I wish I could
Knowing that you
replay
have
time
that, and yet the only person you could blame is yourself. You died at the end of a level because you couldn't manage your nerves. Who knows how long it'll take for you to get back to that point again. Now you have to learn nerve control. There's many levels that exploit this particular skill, but it's most commonly seen in long levels. And if it's an extreme demon you're playing, it makes it even harder to control your nerves near the end of the level. The Geometry Dash community, specifically content creators, have actually used the distractor as a way to create more engagement and entertainment in their content. By buying a heart rate sensor or something else that could replace heart rate and setting it up on your recording software, you can see in real time when the player locks in and needs to control their nerves. The highest reported heart rate in the Geometry Dash community at the time of saying this is 229 beats per minute, which, you know, I had my suspicions, it's actually not healthy at all. Even during exercise, it's well over what's considered dangerous. Without proper nerve control, high heart rate like this can actually put your life at risk, and more importantly, it makes levels harder and can ruin a deep run. Geometry Dash levels are most commonly long length, which is anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes long, but anything past 2 minutes is an XL level, and this is where nerve control becomes a little more important. Light travel is one of these levels. Considered a true test of endurance and nerve control, this yellow level is 9 minutes of gameplay, with choke points, with the best part being some really tight wave gameplay. You want something harder? Here's one, which is just named Death. It's 9.5 minutes long. The most egregious of examples is Beyond. This level is around the 800th hardest in the game at the time I'm saying this. Now, knowing that, I want you to guess how long this level is.
Oh look, you guessed right. And subscribe.
Whoa,
Yeah,
you're right on the
subscribe to
money. It's 55 minutes long. That's only 1% of progress every 33 seconds.
Real quick, it's me editing this. I know 33 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, but keep in mind, most of your attention spans are less than 30 seconds. But, like, when's the last time you sat through a full-length ad, okay? Like, while you were brushing your teeth, maybe you set your phone down to stand up to wipe your... That doesn't count. Imagine sitting through 110 ads. And speaking of ads, half of you probably just got an ad right now, because I placed one right here. Or, I'm gonna place one right here. I'm not done editing this yet, but... Yeah, 30 seconds is a long time.
Sure, the gameplay is like boring and easy, but it spikes in difficulty during the last 12%, and most of the challenge is in the length itself. There's harder, super long levels in the game, but don't worry, we'll get to those later, so calm down. But this is why nerve control is such an important factor in a level's difficulty. Imagine spending thousands of attempts on a single level, listening to the same song over and over, putting in hours and hours trying to beat it. You finally get past that one extremely hard part in the level, and you physically start feeling your heart pounding in your chest. You know that it could take days, even weeks to get another shot at it. And sweat forming between your hand and a single button, causing you to lose grip. You can suddenly feel the clothes resting on your body, the placement of your other hand on your desk, and the more you think about these things, the more focus you lose. It's getting harder to see the things on your screen properly, and you notice the delay between the clicks, and... Agony. Looping all the way back to the start.
What is that?
We're going to start ramping it up here. The one thing you could expect from a Geometry Dash level is consistency. The same gameplay every run. It's how you practice. But there are some levels where that's not the case. Random elements are by far one of the most difficult factors in a level. It takes the linear element of Geometry Dash, the start and the end, and adds a whole other layer of complication to it. Instead of learning a singular path, you have to prepare yourself for all of the possibilities. RDL actually has a collection of categorized packs of levels that have random elements in them, scaling based on difficulty. Dark Odyssey is an extreme demon in the lowest difficulty randomizer pack with one random set.
Thanks to Domino's, I can do 2 jobs at the same time.
I just found an anime where you make choices during each episode. So say something is happening and you choose one of the dialogue options. The characters are going to remember what happened, even when you're choosing the...
This. Right here during this wave, you have to look down here mid-gameplay and read these 3 arrows, and then punch in the code a little later to pass. Now this is a very small instance of randomness in a level that I felt was worth mentioning. But what if it's more than just this small section? Here comes Fog, an already difficult extreme demon with low visibility, rapid gameplay, and super precise inputs. This level is stupid hard, constantly switching between the hardest game modes with really tight choke points. At 90%, right at the peak of your nerves, 1 of 5 random symbols will flash on your screen, each one corresponding to their own unique, completely invisible path that you have to take. What most people do is they try to learn it on the spot by reading the pattern here by just pausing the game.
Yeah, there's two.
But okay, if Fog is in Randomizer Pack 4, what could possibly be harder than that? The Art of the Blade. This is where it starts to get a little ridiculous. While you play this already hard memory demon, even harder than Fog, you have to pay very close attention to 3 different pieces of decoration within the level. The 3 elements are the color of this shrine gate, the color of this tiny square that's barely even on the screen, and the color of this arrow. Each element has 4 possible colors, giving you a total of 64 different combinations. Okay, why do you need to know? Well, at 63%, right as we get the last element that we need, you're faced with 16 columns of dark spots, and each of the 64 combinations is a code that you have to input by touching specific spots. Mind you, you have to spam as hard as you can as to not hit the wrong spot. So what people usually resort to doing is recording their gameplay, looking at all of the different elements, taking each element and putting them into a custom program until you get a code, then resume the game trying to input the correct code, and that's the easiest of the 3 in this randomizer pack.
Wait, what could be harder?
Coalescence is a top 100 level. The entire thing is 4 times speed, forcing you to play some of the hardest gameplay at speeds that you can't even really process. However, the ending is very similar to Fog, except instead of one pattern that's played out, you are randomly shown 5 of 9 possible symbols, as well as their gameplay. Mind you, to get to this point, you have to play top 100 worthy gameplay while paying attention to these patterns. Then, when you hit this dashboard, the level shuffles these patterns and does not show you the gameplay for each pattern, and you're on a dashboard. You can't pause and unpause the level like you can in Fog, or it kicks you off the orbit if you die. Now, there's only a handful of people in the world that can actually play this gameplay at the end, but to memorize a code while doing it, Amplitron, the creator and verifier of this level, practiced for the ending by creating a custom program to learn each of the patterns.
Custom program is just not.
Some of the hardest ever in the game. There are 2 more extremely noteworthy levels that have random elements in them that I'm going to talk about here very shortly that are somehow even harder than this. These levels have much more significant elements of randomness in them, but they're on a whole different tier of difficulty that we'll get into right now.
Isn't Limbo top 63? I thought it was 39.
First, we have to understand some terminology. What is a frame perfect? Geometry Dash's engine checks for a collision 240 times a second. This is the game's TPS, or ticks per second. Hey, so I spent the last 3 days editing and making visuals for this upcoming explanation of what exactly a frame perfect is. And it's cool, it's 2 minutes of really high quality footage. It's 2 minutes! It's a lot of work! And right as I was getting more background footage, I thought to myself, this doesn't match up with my script. So I plugged the entire thing into ChatGPT and it turns out it's just wrong. And the ChatGPT wasn't holding back, it was beating my ass like a drum. Really kicking me while I'm down, and rubbing it in. You see all this effort, all this beautiful work, beautiful visual trash. I'm pissed, but I can't really blame anyone other than myself. I use 2 sources of information. I use a Reddit post and a YouTube video. And the YouTube video, it turns out the YouTube video, I didn't realize it's 5 years old and it's outdated. And the Reddit post is just wrong. This dude's just wrong. And I'm pissed. So just know, a really brief explanation for what a frame perfect actually is. The game checks for collisions and inputs at 240 times a second. If you click, you jump on the next tick. There's a setting that lets you click between ticks. It's called CBF, but it's only really used by the super duper good players and a super duper hard levels. Now, a true frame perfect is a 1-tick window, essentially. Now, the reason I confuse myself is because the Geometry Dash community uses a mix of old terminology and new terminology to, explain timing, which I think is stupid. So just know when you hear a 60 FPS frame perfect, it's this long. Yeah, the flash on your screen, it's this long. That's it, about 16 milliseconds. 120 is 2 ticks, so 8.3. 240 is 1 tick, so 4 milliseconds, and any other smaller timing than that requires this setting. And mind you, a hummingbird flaps its wings 50 to 80 times a second, where every flap of a wing takes about 12 to 20 milliseconds. That's 3 times the window of timing you have to click a 240 frame perfect. Think about that for a second. That's how fast these players are clicking.
Wow.
Editing's hard. Please subscribe. Please.
Yeah, please subscribe, bro.
If you're confused, don't worry. It's a really hard concept to explain properly, so my bad. But just know, when talking in terms of timing, this is some of the absolute smallest, and they could be used to understand how precise you have to be in a level. Earlier in this video, I said that the skill gap between IQ and the hardest extreme demons is bigger than the stereomadness to a Q gap. It's because of frame perfect. You probably won't be able to find a single frame perfect click in any of these levels on the bottom half of RDL. That's how hard it gets. Now, with that being said, let's finally move on to some of the hardest levels in Geometry Dash.
Yeah, that decaying one. One with the one with the bricks, bro.
Up to this point, we've discussed various difficult levels with their own gimmicks. Whether it be memory-based, fast-paced gameplay, or long levels, there's many aspects to a Geometry Dash level that make it hard. However, there are levels that push many of these at once to their absolute human limit. Starting off with one of the most popular levels ever, Limbo is a bright and vibrant memory dream. The entire level is either impossible to sight read or extremely hard to navigate. It's over 3 minutes long and has a whole 11 frame perfect, according to this guy. And it's most famous for its randomized ending. Not only do you have to hit a 16 millisecond window 11 times throughout the course of 3 minutes, but you have to follow that up with playing this legendary ending. Near the end of the level, you will see a key glow green. You have to follow this key with your eyes, and yes, every movement and shuffle here is completely randomized. There is no possible way to prepare for this segment. And while you follow the right key with your eyes, you also have to simultaneously play the hardest game mode, clicking at a bare minimum of 6 times a second as to not die. And you can't click at a steady rate. You have to vary your click rate perfectly in order to avoid crashing into these mounds of spikes. And now you're here. You have to choose which key is the correct one, assuming you follow it correctly. Now, unlike Fall, you cannot pause here. This mechanism here grabs you, and if you let go for even a single frame, you die. Much like how the dash will avoid control lessons. You have to let go when the key of you choosing glows in order to make your selection. If you pick wrong,
we know we got unrefrigerated pie. Dumb wasted time.
however, if you made it to the end, watched the keys shuffle, tracked it with your eyes, and chose the right key after all of that.
This is what I'm saying.
So, let's check off the list of skills that you need to be one of the absolute best at in order to beat this level. Memory. Check. Timing. Check. Nerve control. Super check. And most importantly, focus.
See this part.
Let's go up a little more. This is a level called Bubawamba. What you're seeing right now is footage of a frame-perfect counter for the level. This is absolute needlepoint gameplay that you're watching right now. Not only do you have to land 35 frame perfect, but it consists of some of the hardest gameplay of the hardest game modes in the game. So what makes this level harder than Limbo? Well, this level also has random decorations, just like the Art of Play. Specifically, 5 of them.
Do that again.
Now, there is something I'm not telling. All of the footage
What are you
you've
hiding
seen
from
of this
us,
level so
Lifer
far
64?
has just been gameplay. It's the layout for the level. I needed to show you this so you can get a grasp on how hard this is to play. This isn't what you see when you're playing the level. This is what you see. Bubawamba is currently the hardest memory level in the game. This level gives so little visuals while expecting you to hit frame-perfect jumps. As for the 5 decorations on the level, you have to keep track of these 5 elements that may or may not appear in the level as you play. Yes, they are randomized every time. Then, at the very end, you have to remember which elements were present in your run, and jump through these frame-perfect gaps and hit a button mid-jump for each decoration that didn't appear. And if that wasn't enough, the order in which you input the decorations is also completely randomized. So you need to know which decoration corresponds to which number. The level of insanity you have to go through, you can think of attempting this level is insane. You can see nothing, have to hit repeated frame-perfect jumps, keep an eye on which decorations are there or not there while you play, and manage your nerves as you input them at the end. Albeit, it's not as long as Limbo, and yet it is placed in the top 10 hardest levels in Geometry Dash. Speaking of length, there's another level that I want to talk about here. Flame Wall is the highest test of endurance in the entire game. Not only does it have double the amount of frame perfects as in Bubawamba, these frame perfects are spread out across 70 minutes of extremely fast gameplay. According to the verifier, it took him over 20 months to verify this, and for good reason. This level is so intense for so long that Cuatrocientos literally had to take breaks to wipe the sweat off of his hands and feet. Compared to the slower-paced gameplay of Bubawamba, Flame Wall is always so much faster, forcing the player to harness excellent nerve control, hit insanely tight timings, maintain stamina, and resolve. And if it wasn't bad enough, at the very end of the level, there is a straight spot where you have to perfectly balance the time your click brake pressed down and lift it up in order to fit through this extremely small gap at the end. The verifier died at 99% right here while trying to verify it, which had to be devastating. Not once, he died there twice.
Choose your language. And start learning now. Download the world's #1 language learning app, Duolingo.
It was the stock market that started history's greatest wave of wealth creation.
I may need to switch to
On
YouTube
September 21st, 2025, after getting an attempt 6 minutes in,
This makes me edit more. You have more aura because it's friends with it. That's so much aura since it's friends with it. Yeah, that's so much aura. Wait, I think you mean editing mistake. Look. Up there it says placement on release. Third hardest. Lyprin, I think that's supposed to say third. Why does it say third? I'm not even joking, bro. Look, I'm gonna zoom in right here. Third. You cannot be joking. Third. Wow. Jumps 3,800.
This is a good demonstration of how important nerve control can be in this game. Flame Wall is currently the second hardest level in the entire game, right under a level called Thinking Space 2.
The Society
Now,
edits
compared
jump
to the
scare.
other levels that we covered
Jeez,
today,
I didn't know that
Thinking
Society
Space 2
got
is
verified.
actually one of the shortest
I think he
levels.
lives under
Really,
a rock
this level
or
has no
something.
gimmick at all. It has a relatively clear path, shows its limits
But
well,
yeah,
so
he
where
didn't
does the
know,
difficulty
and
come
the
from?
Society edit jump scared him.
Skill. This level is all rapid timing, and it is the current human limit. These clicks are so rapid that there's even a part right here where you have to have a second input to click fast enough to avoid dying. So, how many frame perfects does Thinking Space 2 have? It's gotta be way more than Bubawamba, Flame Wall, and all these insanely difficult levels, right?
Wow. 2120.
This level has some of the hardest times ever in geometry. I can't really explain how hard this is. To put into perspective just how hard you have to play, I was looking through YouTube and I found this video. What you are watching right now is the verifier and the first victor of Thinking Space 2 with their winning runs on top of each other. You can't even tell that there's two sets of gameplay here.
Yeah.
It is that
You can just barely tell.
This is the current human limit of geometry.
The opacity though.
But
wait, what's
what
this
if
part?
I told you it
This
can
part
get
is so
even harder?
This part's so
As you may know,
tough.
in order for a level to show up on RDL, it has to be verified. Which means it needs to have been beaten at least once to confirm that it can be done. Every day, there are people trying to verify the next hardest level. And at the time I'm saying this, the biggest race in Geometry Dash's history for the top one spot is happening right now. Levels like Grief, Heliopolis, Angelicide, Cosmos Unleashed, Society, and so many more are having hundreds of thousands of attempts poured into them to take that top spot first, with many of them being extremely close to being verified. These levels have hundreds of frame perfects, timings tighter than anything in the top 10, and gameplay so hard that if any of these were to be verified, they would be placed above Thinking Space 2 in a heartbeat. Many of these verifications are being live streamed, with tens of thousands of people waiting eagerly at the chance
get ready
to see
for
the
the
next
best
hardest
thing
thing
ever.
be beaten right in front of their eyes. Every step that's made, every new best gains thousands, even millions of views. This goes to show how excited the community is to watch these incredible players do incredible things.
This is so tough.
I was at a party. And
new top one just randomly got verified.
Just verified
W Pop-Off has officially won the top one race.
W Pop-Off just verified society.
Look how tough this is. This is so hard.
What? Bro! No way! I'm a menace to society. Oh my god.
This is just so hard. 3, 2, 3? This is way harder.
The players that stand at the top single-handedly redefine the human limit. Things that were once a struggle to new players is now muscle memory through thousands of hours of practice.
I don't know who
A
the
common
robot guy
misconception
is
that Geometry Dash is a rhythm game, but at a certain point, it turns into something else. It becomes a test of spirit. So, to answer the question of how hard is Geometry Dash, it is as hard as humanly possible.
You could have just told me that, but okay, I like the editing. That was an amazing video.
My goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I know it's a bit far-fetched, but I would deeply
Get
appreciate
Lightrin
it
for
if you
that.
subscribed.
Everybody who subs to me, go sub to Lightrin.